Hello, guys, and good morning. Name's Taylor White. Uh, Doing my report on how illegal drugs negatively affect adolescent teens, juvenile delinquency. Um, the use of illegal drugs are getting worse each and every day, especially in juveniles. The effect that it can have on adolescent teens can get them into legal issues or even death. In the United States today, and even the world, we have adolescent teens abusing drugs and having the effects that comes with the drugs. What I am going to state and explain in the piece of writing is the use of illegal drugs that negatively affect adolescent teens and what are the consequences do they face. Third, should they receive punishment for committing their crimes, or should they be treated for their drug abuse instead? First off, I want to talk about teens who abuse illegal drugs are putting themselves at risk for serious health issues, hurting the ones they love, not doing well in school, and possibly facing time in prison if they are caught. According to the government 2010 National Survey on Drugs Use and Health, about 2,200,000 of teens ages 12 through 17 use drugs illegally. Teens are at greater risk of abusing illegal drugs because they often make decisions out of impulse and they want to accept socially, so they give it a try. Many of the teens who use illegal drugs do not realize how many negative effects it can have on them, their life, and other lives. Using illegal drugs is physically harmful to anyone, but for teens especially, because they are still development and growing. The use of drugs can dramatically change or even destroy the development of the adolescent brains of the youth. During the adolescent years is when most behavior and habits are developed. The repeated habit of drug usage can become wired into the teen's brain and stick with them throughout the rest of their lives. Damages to the brain due to drugs include loss of memory, defective learning abilities, amnesia, impaired reasoning, and lack of social desires. One obvious health danger due to drugs is overdose. If a teen is using drugs for the first time, they don't know how their body is going to respond, and they could have a reaction to the drug that is life-threatening. Some teens may overdose on purpose or unknowingly if they are under the influence of drugs. Abusing drugs can cause life-threatening physical effects as well. Drugs such as stimulants can cause an irregular heartbeat, significantly high body temperatures, and paranoia. Abusing drugs such as import can cause disorientation, lack of coordination, and seizures. If a teen is under the influence of drugs and driving, they could end up in an accident, putting their own life and someone else in danger. If a teen takes drugs in combination with their other drugs, they can also put their life in danger too. Among the negative effects of illegal drug usage can also cause emotional problems for the teen, such as depression and anxiety. A survey taken shows that 34.6% of teens who suffer from major depression report using drugs. Teens using drugs are also more likely to have behavioral problems, such as acting out in violence, stealing, or committing other crimes while under the influence. It is shown that majority of juvenile offenders were under the influence of drugs or alcohol while committing their crimes. 4 out of every 5 children placed in state juvenile justice system tested positive for drugs or admitted to having a substance abuse problem in the past. Teens who abuse drugs are also more likely to do poorly in school due to the negative effects of the drugs they are using. They are more likely to have failing grades and possibly drop out of school. The drugs cause them to have lack of insurance, impairs their learning abilities, and destroys their memory skills. It is also possible for the drugs to form learning disabilities that the teen may have never had before using drugs. For the penalties for a juvenile being charged with drug possession include drugs, counseling, probation, diversion, and or detention. The juvenile courts tend to lean more towards the drug counseling option. This is not voluntary for the juvenile, they must intend. If the court decided to place the juvenile on probation, they order specific terms that the juvenile has to obey for usually 6 months. But longer terms can be sentenced if desired by the court. In the worst case, the juvenile can be placed in detention services such as home confinement, placed in a foster family, in a juvenile home, or a detention center for juveniles. The juvenile justice official across the United States has a new method of dealing with adolescent substance abuse. State governments have started hundreds of specialized drug courts to provide supervision and coordinate substance abuse treatment for those juveniles that has drug problems. The drug courts give juvenile offenders an opportunity to change their behavior and stop their use of illegal drugs and complete a rigorous program of treatment may have their sentence reduced or the case dismissed. Last but not least, reason why they would do drugs is hang out with certain friends or certain groups, or they think it would make them grown up. They can have a chance to have loss of friends, problems at home. Drug abuse is leading cause of teen death, teen death or injury related to car accident or suicides or violence. In conclusion, the effect of drug use in adolescent teens in today's world is getting out of hand and should come with serious consequences and receive punishment for their action, and part of that process punishment is to get treatment for their drug abuse. For the treatment process can help juveniles get their drug abuse problems under control and get into the right path in life, so they will have a life without consequences from court dates and treatment, and staying out of trouble. With all the consequences leading up to adolescent teens using illegal drugs can never change the past and what they did. They can always look into the future and get treated and get better help by therapy. That is my paper on how illegal drugs negatively affect adolescent teens, and I hope you enjoyed what I had to say.